Welcome to the 21 Convention Podcast. I'm Steve Maeda, and today we have two of our most requested podcast interviewees. That is Sasha Daygame and James Marshall. It gets fun, it gets exciting, it goes all over the place, and of course it gets very, very real. Gonna have to definitely take notes, listen to this one. Don't forget to subscribe, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all that sort of stuff. Leave a comment down below and we'll get back to you. Let's get into this interview, and man, some awesome stuff on the way. What is happening? I am here with Sasha Daygame, James Marshall, the 21 Convention Podcast. What's happening, gents?
Well,
this is going to be the most quiet it's going to be for the next hour.
I just want to say that.
Well, I mean, we should really just, for the first time ever, lost for words.
I'll just start talking then. Let me tell you about my life.
James over here, he's feeling a little bit intimidated because, as usual, I'm dressed up all fancy, and he just likes to take it easy, and he doesn't really think it matters what you wear as long as you've got it really out.
Well, I think it matters. I just haven't figured it out yet. I'm just, I'm working. Keep working on it. I've been modeling you for quite a while, and I'm incrementally.
I think you've slowly been here and there putting it on the fashion and getting better. So.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yep.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. What stimulated this change in you, James?
Well, I think we've stimulated quite a lot of changes in each other over the last few years.
Sexually, emotionally, or?
On all levels. Yeah, I mean, we're more or less the same brain in two slightly different bodies now.
So, we've been talking about this a lot with the different podcasts, but how does that happen? I mean, there's a certain level of influence and connection. I mean, we're all working in the seduction, dating realm, and so there's this hyper level of empathy, hyper level of connection, hyper level of sexual exchange, but
and competition and gossip as well. So.
Totally. That's like the that's the disconnect. Right?
Yeah.
But in all of that, like, how has your process happened? Because both of you guys have been in sync on many different levels, and then maybe disappear for a few months and come back together. Like, how has that kind of ebb and flow, worked for you guys? Sasha, you first.
Well, but first, let me just say we were joking about the fact. Obviously, if anyone there's like, this doesn't make any sense. James dresses better than Sasha. Then you're stupid, and you should have realized we were being sarcastic. Irony.
Maybe you need some social dynamics training to get the joke.
If you didn't get that joke, you need
joke training.
Joke training.
Getting jokes.
Next
workshop.
year, 2016, the year after next, that'll be there. Yeah. I mean, we just, we're just sort of, we started out as polar kind of opposites of me being like super crazy, fucking running around going, blah, and James.
And that's changed.
Somewhat, yeah, definitely. And then James was just like really fucking quiet.
I'll show him what I use.
Yeah, you go ahead, you do your move.
There you go.
There it was. And I'll do James' impression of me.
No, my impression of you is like, what's that? I think you're fucking hot.
Yeah, that was it. See, 3 years ago, James wouldn't have been that animated. No, he wouldn't have done any of that. He just would have been like, yeah, Sasha's funny. That would have been it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just started off that way, and ever since we met for the first time at actually the 21.
We all met together, 2011, 21 Convention,
That's right.
London,
in the bathroom.
England.
In the catacombs of that.
It was a bathroom, wasn't it?
Well, there was that underground hallway.
Yeah. We just bumped, and then we were like, and I was like, dudes, I'm really depressed, and my business is going down the drain. Sasha's like, I want to get out of London.
Well, no, but this is something which is crazy, because a turning point for everybody. What you wanted at that moment, turned into different things, and there was like, man, what am I going to take a chance on? What am I going to do? And that is so important for the roles of, what you teach and coach. And what you teach and coach could only come from that root of like, doubt and question within yourself, in taking the chance, the path that didn't always look great, and having faith in it. And I've even seen you guys process through that. But like, what happened 2011 to 2014, where'd the adventure take you?
Well, shitloads happened. We've circled the world multiple times together and separately since then. But yeah, that really was a turning point, because although probably to the outside world, when they're looking at our YouTube videos and stuff, they're like, those guys have got it sorted, they figured it out, they got chicks and
fun, awesome, yeah.
Maybe
the
money.
ideal, I mean, shit.
Yeah. Which was true partially, but it was also true that we were struggling and trying to make a living and having our own personal stuff. And for me at that time, that was the darkest time of my adult life, really. You know, I was broken up with the love of my life, and business wasn't great, and I took a really big gamble going over to that convention when I was living in Australia at the time. And it was one of those things where you just had to step into the abyss, knowing that it might not pay off, and then it definitely did.
Same exact thing for me, but just different scenario. I was in London and was madly in love with this girl, like just completely head over heels, and like this is the girl for me. It was crazy. And then I meet this guy, and we have this great thing, and we're just like, wow, this could be so much fun, what we're gonna do, and whatever. And he's like, yeah, you gotta come do this. You know, he's got this Euro tour program where he just goes around Europe teaching these courses. He's like, yeah, you're gonna come with me, it's gonna be awesome, and I'm gonna hustle, and I'll bring some clients, and we'll do this thing, and make money, and have a great time, and whatever. And it came to this ultimate choice, because what people don't realize is I was actually living completely illegally in England at the time. I didn't have a visa, nothing. I was just there. So my choice was, do I leave
we're in
this?
Scotland Yard right now. Like,
Yeah,
I knew it! Oh, bloody hell, it's too late. Next time we're gonna get you.
But anyway, so the choice was, do I stay with this girl illegally and try and make it work with her, or do I pursue my fucking dream of just like traveling the world and you know, taking it to the next level in seduction, and basically follow my life kind of where it was taking me, or just do the thing with a girl? And it was fucking brutal. And of course I chose walking the path that I had to, and it was fucking excruciating.
You know, it's funny because I remember you saying at that 21 convention, you had said, you had said like, man, I don't know if this was worth it for me. You know, because in the immediate results, it was a big investment. I mean, if you look on a map, it's the opposite side of the world. You know, it's the opposite hemisphere. You know, so
and it's the wrong way for an Australian. We're supposed to go from merry old England to Australia and stay there because we've been naughty boys. But yes, it was. We've got some microphones. Yeah, I know they're exploding.
My mic
off our...
committed suicide about 2 minutes
Both
ago.
of you
It
guys.
just went fuck it and jumped, and I'm like, is this going that badly? I can't
then
believe
his
this.
jumped,
Yeah,
and
mine
now
was
yours
like,
followed.
Now they're trying to have sex on the floor with each other. Well, we
that's
didn't
usually
die.
what-
Let's fuck. That's what they're doing.
That's usually what attempted suicide patients do, you know. But no, but yeah, you know, and it's interesting because it did work out. That was a crazy. Like if you just looked at the points on the map of 21 convention speeches, it would be like 2011, then 2012 London, and then 2012 Melbourne. There's like a huge progression, man, and even for yourself too. You know, it's like 2011 London, 2011 or 12 London. Very, very big difference.
Yep.
You know, crazy transition, and think about the time that transpired in between there. Of, you know, you talk about the hero's journey, or I hear you guys mention it.
It was a lot of pumping.
Yeah, there was quite a lot of pumping.
Yep, people were busy doing things.
We were all there in the same apartment.
Sometimes listening to sounds. Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Beating off in the corner, or
I remember you guys like giving me a round of applause one evening.
Oh
You remember
yeah, I remember that. James had a particularly good performance. We won't name the country, and we won't name any details. But yeah, it was just an excellent show, and there was screaming, and it's some kind of sound of just something hitting the wall, and it was so good. I just decided, let's make this funny and awkward for James, because that's what I do. It's kind of my thing, awkward. Well, and I just started fucking clapping very loudly, and I think you joined in.
Here's the thing, okay, is what you guys may not understand is
the girl appreciated it apparently.
Are ever involved in the seduction scene, and you are a coach, okay, and you room with someone else, which is inevitable because you're always rooming with people. You're going to hear your buddy boning another chick, right? And you want to talk about awkward when you're the guy sitting outside of the room. That's the awkward moment.
Masturbating.
Yeah, well, because then you have nothing to do. You know, because you're like,
remember
well,
that you ended up wiping your hand on your shirt, and then you tried to use that little bar of soap we had to. Anyway, yeah, that was pretty cool.
But my favorite thing is actually to take my condoms and then leave them in pockets of guys.
I did that to you. Remember when you brought that Russian girl home, and then we put the banana under your pillow with the with the condom rolled onto it.
Yeah, that was just silly. No, that wasn't it. I went out and I had this. Basically, I went to. Not like I'm an expert with strippers, but I happened to pick up a stripper one time, and she was coming over with me, and they all knew she was coming over with me. And then I come upstairs, and everyone's sitting around in their underwear around the table, and they all just look over with a cup
I had
of
my
tea
shirt
going,
my shirt tied up like this, and Gareth Jones was in his leopard print underwear. And
of course, he would have leopard print underwear. Yeah.
We were just sitting there drinking tea, and we're like, "Oh, I didn't realize you had company."
Yeah, it was all posh. And then at some point there was a banana with a condom on it as well.
Yeah.
And then we went and we did our thing.
Well, I did that because that was the sort of thing that you would do.
That's exactly what I would do.
And I wanted to get revenge in advance.
In advance, yeah.
That's the morphine of still looking different on the outside, but James Marshall and Sasha.
Well, he's adapting the Sasha prankster stuff, yeah. He knows.
That's the evolution. That's
he knows.
And sometimes now Sasha's quiet.
That's right. This comes back to your very first question, which I was sort of trying to lead into. So when we met, he was depressed and quite quiet, and he was just very good at the sexual pressure and intent, but he had this real presence to him. So when I came up to him at the 21 convention, I was like, hey man, I really liked your speech. It was really crazy. And I just started yapping, and he just kind of went, yeah. And he was doing his staring trick on me. And then of course throughout the years, I just realized that of course, even though I'm a comedian and it's fun for me, I can just totally mellow out and come up to girls and just be totally sexual and more just chilled out and whatever. And actually, through James' influence and Johnny Saporno and other people, as I came more into kind of loving me and accepting who I am and just being okay with myself, because part of that comedy was really just me proving, hey, look how funny I am, look how what a great personality I am. Part of that was, trying to find myself. And after a while, I just, in this process of pick up and hanging out with all these really amazing people, I just came to a point where, I don't have to prove shit to anyone. I really think I'm a great person. I love me. People love me. And I can just as easily be hilarious and funny, or be sitting in a corner totally chilled, and I'm still the same cool dude. And it doesn't fucking matter. And that's a huge, huge transition. And in a way, it's sort of funny for me because it's public, because you can see me on YouTube going from to just being there making videos, chilled out, like, hey guys, you gotta love you, you gotta just be, so it's a really big thing, and it's kind of been public. I think that's cool.
It's an interesting thing because a long time ago, I mean, I started out in theater and did a lot of that. And one thing that I always realized was theater people it was just a really tough template to explore yourself. But stand-up comedy more. So theater, you're like, film actor, one thing, you watch, there's like some narcissism there, all that sort of stuff. You're watching yourself on the screen. But in theater, it's constant feedback. But in stand-up comedy, it's instant feedback, and it's just a hard thing to like build. Either way, it's gonna affect you, But what I hear you saying is that the world in seduction, getting out there socializing, being sexual with people, that stabilized that. It put it into a realm where it morphed into this other thing. And so what would you call like the root of seduction then?
Self-acceptance.
Yeah.
It's almost like you have to seduce yourself first. It's like you have to figure out, what do you really want? Who are you? What are you really comfortable? Who are you and what are you comfortable doing? And it really took from like me being like 17 years old and doing stand-up comedy, getting to a certain point up till when I was like, late 20s, and then getting into pickup, and then really going much, much deeper in the lessons. And I think it really just shows you that it doesn't matter where you are, you're always developing. Yeah. But you just have these points where you just go, oh, I'm a different person now, or this has changed, or this has changed. But
I think it can be, it can have a dark and a light side, because we've certainly seen plenty of guys who got into seduction and are coaches still today, who it's really reinforced masks and actually made them lose their soul, essentially. Because even if they become effective at kind of hustling drunk girls into bed, or having some basic level of results, they've totally lost their personality, and it's just buried under this pickup mess.
Yes. I had a guy come up to me today, well, not today, yesterday, last night, in tears, like he was trying to tell me something, and he was, he was on the verge of tears, and there were a couple of tears, and he was just saying, hey dude, man, I used to do all this really weird, routine-based, indirect shit, and I would get laid, and I'd feel fucking horrible because I wasn't being me. And then I saw your video of you just running around being a dick and just doing your thing. And he said, and I just completely, he was crying, telling me this, that he just changed his life, and he just realized he could just go and be himself and just not fucking do all that shit that he didn't like. And it's like, yeah, it was really powerful, and I've never had a fucking crier before, so it was kind of cool.
Oh, we've seen plenty of tears. You've seen me cry.
Yeah, I've seen you cry.
I saw you cry once.
Sure. I was jealous once because at the first direct dating summit, somebody came up to Alan Roger Curry and said to him that he was their father figure, and the guy's father had actually been killed by, because he had an affair, and some dude he had an affair with some dude's wife, and somebody came and fucking killed the guy's
It's gonna happen to me,
father. No, seriously. And then he never had a dad, and Alan had been this guy's father figure for years, and he like broke, and he told a story, and I was like, holy fuck, this is crazy. And I was like, I never get any crying guys coming up to me, so I finally had one. So I felt
at some point you'll probably be sick of it, just like, okay.
We have that on Euro. There's always a couple on Euro too who break down because they realise that they've been living a lie, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's something to be wary of in any kind of personal development pursuit, because you see that in like kind of hippie circles or spiritual circles where this spiritual narcissism happens, where I'm so spiritual, or in worlds of personal development where it's like I'm positive, or I'm always effective, and these kinds of things where people layer on top of themselves the modality and the method, and then lose sight of what the point of the method is, which is always to come back to understanding yourself and developing yourself from a deep core internal place. And then point. If seduction is done well or personal development is done well, then yeah, it's going to be raw, it's going to be heavy because you're going to have to face your demons before you step into the light.
That's the thing, and that's what I think sucks about the way most people get into this, which is like reading the game or something like that. There's no depth. There's no deep. It's just
right,
like here's
no
a bunch of crazy.
There's
just no real depth, and I think real coaching and real, it really comes down to dealing with deep internal fucking shit and getting through it and becoming a better person. And when you really, again, accept yourself and you're like, okay, I've dealt with that, it's cool, and you move on, then only can you really go out there and have amazing experiences with other people. But if you don't accept yourself and you're hiding this shit and you feel guilt and shame, you just can't really progress. So I think that's...
Man, I hate to say it, we got to take a quick break. We will be right back and finishing this discussion.
All right, cool.
And we're back. We are back with Sasha Daygame, James Marshall, and we were getting into some good discussion. Man, you were saying coaching. When you read the game, when you're basically going off just the marketing alone of the industry, it's if you do this, it's going to get fixed. But you're actually saying, with coaching, with your experience, in fact, with all of our experiences, that it's so dependent upon something else.
Here's what fucking stinks about this goddamn industry. Too many people, I'm not going to name specific people, but there's too much marketing hype and very little results, and that's what really pisses me off. So you'll go and see some ad where it's like, yeah, we're going to teach you how to have sex with girls without ever facing any rejection. That doesn't exist.
Or even leaving the house.
That's called using hookers, all right? Hookers. Then you can have sex without rejection, but any other situation, there's going to be some rejection.
Believe me, you can have rejection with hookers.
Well, yeah, I heard one story, but I don't want to go into it.
I could actually go on about stories.
I
but
could
anyway.
too in China.
But the point is,
just in China.
I make one
How you
hooker
lived?
joke, and now Steve Maeda is fucking wants to get in his hooker stories.
Hey, James backs me on it.
But anyway, my point is simply that, most people, they just don't fucking realize that they have to go deep to get real personal change in the seduction. They just think, yeah, I'm just gonna say some
Big
fancy
time.
lines and I'm gonna fucking dress cool and I'm gonna slash a little cash, and yeah, you're gonna end up with some fucking shitty girl who wants you to buy her a fucking Mercedes, and that's, what I'm saying. But to really get some hot
not
chicks-
even have that, it's just like.
Not even get a gold digger. That's depressing.
Yeah.
Maybe
Get
we
a bad
should because we've had this kind of discussion
Yeah,
before,
we've
where
done
we're
this
like,
already.
some guys are bad and they teach shit.
Yeah.
But maybe what would be useful for the guys is to talk about, well, if you are looking for mentorship in the seduction realm,
What to look for.
what should you be looking for?
Yeah.
Because of course, like if you're a guy who's coming into this and you don't know, and you just look and there's like a flashy ad and it's like, then you're like, oh, I guess that's it.
Yeah. Let me bring this up. I was thinking about this, thinking about you, because you've never done that route, but you've always done in-field video. And so what do you think about some of the stuff going on now? Because in-field video is very popular, and this is my opinion, but I think a lot of times it may send the wrong message. You've never done that. Like you've always been like, this is what it is, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to show you. And, because that can be deceiving. Because what I'd say, or the age-old thing is like, well, look at the person, look at their life, look at the results. Would you want to be like them? Even that can be tough nowadays.
Because people can edit their videos very effectively.
Yeah.
Make it look like
or
anything.
it's like, what are they getting? I was watching one and there was this guy and they're like, this guy can fuck anything. And he's like, boning all these chicks. I know from sexuality, that's great. You should get that result. Every man, I think, can have that. But it's like, if you're just showing that and then like, I don't know.
I think one of our speakers, was it Socrates? But yeah, it was Socrates who was saying that how you get to a certain goal or result, the path you take is extremely important. And I think he's really right about that. It really resonated with me. I'm sure to some degree some of the manipulation and bullshit that you can do to fucking get girls and bang them, I'm sure that works, but you're becoming a manipulator and a fucking liar. But if you take the harder route and actually deal with your shit and actually become a person you can respect yourself and women can respect, you're just going to have a great life. Because not just in seduction, just in general, people will be like, that's a fucking dude I would have business with, or I would deal with, and that's that's really important. And I think that's something that's overlooked. The path you take really makes a big difference.
It does. And
that's why I don't edit anything, and I'm just like, this is what I'm doing. There it is.
Yeah, and I think any effective path needs to have a large element of vulnerability as well. So, because the nature of this, and the reason why the marketing of like zero rejection sells so well is because guys don't want to be vulnerable, because they don't want to have those moments where suddenly their ego is stripped bare, or they're being judged, or they're in self-doubt. But I know for myself, even though those things are difficult, those are the points where I really grew. Yeah, it's actually
Yeah.
stepping into the fear
Totally.
and having it overwhelm you and being humiliated or being rejected or, feeling like a fool or not knowing what to do. When I look back over my seduction history of like the moments when I really like had breakthroughs or the girls that really changed me, it was the ones where it was a train wreck, where the girl called me out on some bullshit, and I just had to go, yeah, all right, yeah, I'm full of shit right now, or I feel humiliated, or I just don't know what to do, because then you start digging for the internal resources and then looking for the mentorship around you to help you step through that.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
When was the last really big time that something like that had happened for you? Because those things are always happening throughout life, And I think a lot of people assume that just stops.
I actually remember the last time that happened. That happened when we were in Vegas. When was that?
Vegas.
Yeah, it was just, we were in Vegas, that was it. I was just like, I was...
Are you talking about after DDS?
Yeah, okay. We were in Vegas a couple of years ago.
Yeah, 2012.
And we went to a strip club, which I don't like going to after we'd finished the DDS.
Oh, this, yeah.
And this girl came up to me, and I was like, chicks approaching. Oh yeah, it's a strip club. That's what they do.
Yeah. It throws you off, right?
Oh yeah. And this chick came up to me, and she was tall and blonde, and she said hello, and I said, oh, where are you from? She said, I'm from Finland. And I said, oh, you're pretty tall for a Finnish girl, because I had slept with one Finnish girl in my life, and she just happened to be short. So in my mind, I was like, just in that moment, I was like, yeah, I know what people in Finland are like, and so I just went, yeah. And she said, if you'd been to Finland, it would have been very clear that we're actually very tall people. You're full of shit. And then she just turned and walked off, and I went, yeah, she's right. Yeah, that was what, a couple of years ago, and it was just that one of those moments where I just suddenly went, yeah, I'm going to be an asshole, and she was great. She just went, pin me, and went, nope, and then I was like, maybe I could, yeah, okay. And I whenever I even think of that to this day, that's one of those moments where I'm like, ugh. And I can't imagine what it's like to be a guy who has to do that every time you go and approach a girl going, hey, I got some bullshit
Imagine
for
if you're
you.
a stripper and every time you're approaching a guy.
I thought you were going to say completely something else, where
Throw him under the bus.
There was this one stripper that you really had a great thing with, and she was really into you, or whatever. And then for some reason you ended up giving her your number, and you're like, she's gonna call, and then she didn't call, and you were like, motherfucker,
Yeah, that was that
fucking
same night.
stupid. Yeah, it was the same night. That was also the same night where we went there. Basically, we were doing one of my summits, and we all went to a strip club for fun. So it was also the same night where I walked in the strip club, and right behind me was Ryan, who only dates black girls. And I came up to this really hot black girl, and I was like, hey, what's going on? And I'm talking to her for a minute, it's going well. And he walks up to me, shot me, he goes, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm talking to this girl, and he's like, yeah, but she's black. I'm like, you can't have all the black ones. He's like, yeah, all the black ones are mine. I'm like, well, I said hi to her first. And he's like, yeah, but she's the only black one in here. And I'm like, all right, that's true. Anyway, so
Meanwhile, she'd walked off going, whoa.
Yeah, and he just ruined it. Anyway,
So this was all
he literally just.
I was there too. It was like everyone around.
He
was livid.
He was
but
livid.
He's British, and he's uptight. He's like, I can't believe this, Sasha. This is outrageous. She's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he only goes for black chicks, though.
Yeah.
And
That was quite an eventful night.
That was a
What
fun
strip
night.
club in Vegas were you at that only had one?
One black, I mean, maybe, like one or two, but there wasn't enough to make him happy.
You could keep away.
Or angry.
So and that's what I love about a good woman, is that she will call you out on that kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
That's why one of the reasons I think seduction is can be such an accelerated catalyst for personal change, because when you're going up and presenting yourself, and with an agenda, of course you have an agenda, which is I want to have sex with you or want to get to know you. A woman who is in any way self-aware will call you out on it, will reflect back to you what you're giving to her. And a lot of guys don't take that feedback. If she's like, you're full of shit, like that girl, it would have been easy for me to go, fucking
Fucking
bitch,
lesbian, stupid bitch.
I know what Finnish chicks are like.
Because that one moment, that affected you. I'm sure like rejection happens all the time, but there's always that one that it's like boom, and then it makes you see. You're like, fuck, dude, why did I do it again or whatever? It's just.
I think it's important to know the difference between some genuine feedback and some chick who's just fucked up and it's just being an asshole.
Definitely.
Some
which
chicks are fucked
actually
up,
does happen a lot in a strip club, but.
Sure, but that girl was just being straight with me, and I appreciate it. And,
But talking about funny stories, here's another good one about
Sasha,
James.
what's a funny story?
I'd like to make fun of James some more if I could. Would that be good?
What kind of story are you about to
Yeah,
tell,
come on,
Sasha?
it's fine. So this is really funny. So we're talking about so direct dating summit Berlin. This was quite good. This is the funniest moment in all of public seminar and of any recorded history of anything in any industry. James was on stage one day and he's just doing his thing, doing this rant, and he was telling this story about how you can't always be super direct with girls, and he's got his girlfriend with him, and he's like, well, I remember when I met this girl here, I just met her on the street corner. If I had come up to her and said, hey, you're fucking sexy, I'd like to fucking bend you, she never, it wouldn't have worked, would it? And she's like, no, that wouldn't work. So in that situation, definitely you just have to not, you can't be doing that stuff all the time. And then she just turns to the audience and goes, yeah, and I was 17 at the time. And then everybody like bursts into laughter. And then James just goes, oh, well, we didn't have sex till she was 18. And she just goes, and then everybody just fucking pissed themselves because basically she outed him as a man who will hit on younger chicks, which he is.
And then I said, in any other industry, that would have been the end of my career. Right now, you guys think it's pretty cool. All right, carrying on. Now, the thing about Seduction is...
It just went on from there, but there was about a 2-minute laughing break.
Yeah, they loved it.
I think that was quite good. Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's like, if that's the worst that you...
That's the worst he's allowed to talk about.
That's the worst I'm allowed to talk about. Yeah, there's other things.
Right now,
I'm in James's punching distance, and he did Kung Fu for a long time, so
I've got an
can't
electrode attached to his testicle right now with a little buzzer. I'm like, just be careful.
Hot, man. If I had that on my balls, I'd be telling you to press it.
Yeah.
In other news, I've convinced James to come to India with me. James has a really bad history with India. I don't know if you want to, let's just say.
Well, when I was 18, I went to India and got involved with very charming jewelry mafia who kidnapped me, held me to ransom, and I didn't even know about it. That's how good they were. I was held to ransom without my knowledge. I was having a great time. They were taking me to parties. And
really? So then they were telling like your family or whatever?
They called my father and said, sir, we have your son and we will kill him. Please send us $50,000.
No.
And meanwhile, I'm there like on smoking like opium and like partying with these Indians.
I was like waiting for this dramatic story of like I was tied up. And
I was having a great time. No, I didn't realize at all. But then at some point I did realize when
they didn't let you go.
And then they fucked him over even more.
Yeah, they got me on every single angle. Anyway, it was a very traumatic experience. When I got home, I decided I will never go to India again because that wasn't very fun.
Right.
And then I hear that Sasha's like, we're going to go tour India. I'm like, that sounds like a really bad idea. No, it's going to be great. We're going to like take big groups of like dudes and like run down the streets and like get them to approach girls. I'm like, that sounds like a really bad idea. I'm definitely not going to do that.
He's coming to India now. Well, here's the thing. As it happens, I don't know why, but I have a huge fan base in India. They're emailing me. They can't get laid. Well, dude, they're so repressed. They're like, please come to India. And finally, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go. I'm not going to do boot camps in every city, but I'll do some talks and help as much as I can, and I'll do one for guys who want to come. And then James is, of course, realizing this is going to be really fucking hilarious, and they're going to be filming the whole thing. And finally, yesterday, I broke him down. He's like, all right, I'll come out for a week. So we're coming to India.
Yes, we are.
So you're going on like a massive tour. So you're going to like 4 or 5 cities.
Five cities, yeah. But it's going to be great for me because part of my journey, which we didn't really talk about yet, but can't squeeze it all into one podcast. But I've been getting.
Tell us about your journey.
All right, sure. So I've been going really down the spiritual path. So I've been reading like life-changing books like Conversations with God and other stuff. And like it's funny because I've always been really against religion because I see it as brainwashing. Mm-hmm. I think if you're my view has always been if you're under 18 years old and you definitely have a religion
by James Marshall.
And you've been on James Marshall, that means you like men from Australia who do funny dances and fart secretly. No, different joke that people don't know. But anyway, the point is. What was the point? What was I saying? Spiritual journey. So basically, I always hated religion, and my view was always like, if you're a kid, if you have a child, and you've told them what religion to have, and they're like, yeah, I'm definitely this religion, that's brainwashing. You shouldn't be doing that because they didn't make that choice. I think every child should literally be given all the options of all the religions and said, hey, here's all the religions that exist, including atheism and everything else, and whichever one of these you want to follow, you can, or none. Until they're 18, and if you try and influence that child, otherwise you should go to jail because you're brainwashing your kid. That's always been my view.
Like some crazy
and I was so that it's for the better, it's for the good of man.
It's for the good, yeah.
And I was always really against all that shit. And then finally, eventually, I got into spiritual, which is just like just that we're all part of this greater energy, and it's all beautiful. And I've just been going down this path, and I've had completely ridiculous, crazy stories and experiences happen to me that are so crazy. If you're not already tapped into this, you'd think I was insane. And I actually went and started a spiritual blog, which I guess I can plug, ZulAwakens.com. Because it's more than most people will be able to fucking get into, but yeah, it's been beautiful, and I've realized, of course, that we're all one, and there's no death, and and I've done some crazy shit with this guy.
I've seen him die actually.
Yeah, I mean, it went so far. We had some crazy. We went and did ayahuasca. We did like 10 days, 4 ceremonies over 10 days, I think it was.
In Peru.
In Peru, and it's just, it's a spiritual plant medicine, if people don't know about it, but it's fucking horrific and brutal and just beautiful all in one. And so I've just been going down that path, and I think everyone at some point is going to go further, because I think seduction really leads to it, because again, seduction forces you to deal with the basic stuff. Who am I? My sexual intention, what I can do, who I am as a man. All that stuff is awesome, and it'll help you, hook up with chicks and get better with people, but what's next? And there's always a next level of development. I'm sure you know that, because you've been fucking doing this for a really long time as well, and so is James. So I think naturally this will lead to spiritual stuff at some point, and I really believe that everybody out there at some point is going to start to think, why am I on this planet? What happens after we? All this stuff comes up at some point.
The act of having
sex
takes.
I think it's good.
Those
there's tantric sex, which literally when you're in that peak with somebody and you're prolonging that orgasm, where literally you can become one with them and be kind of God.
I want you to do this for us, Sasha.
I don't think I would be appropriate to do an example.
We're out of we're out of time, but could you tell us about our sponsor?
Oh yeah, guys, we're going to do a quick break, and we just want to thank our sponsor, Chlamydia. So we'll be right back.
All right, we are back. Sasha Daygame, James Marshall, and man, we got into some cool stuff. You guys were talking about ayahuasca. I think that if we do not talk about that, we will get a shitload of YouTube comments and emails and stuff. But yeah, I mean, what happened? What happened for you guys?
Well, for me, I've been doing it. We did a 10 days in the jungle in Peru.
And your first time doing it was with Sasha, right?
Yeah, it was. And then I also went and did another month last year, so I did a much more extended period. For me, it's been completely life-changing and absolutely fucking awesome. It's not something that I would recommend to beginners of spiritual pursuits. It's not something I would think you should ever do recreationally, or that you should do without very deep research of the person that's doing it.
And let me actually ask you, what prompted you to do it? I mean, everybody's curious about it, I get it, but would you say that it's a necessity?
No, I don't think it's a necessity. But for me, I mean, I've been meditating, I've been doing a lot of different types of spiritual pursuits since I was 17 years old. And I guess I'd reached a point where I'd kind of stagnated in my spirituality, so I'd gotten just more into a hedonistic lifestyle and like probably too much into business and just into too much worldly stuff. Yeah. And I felt like I needed a reset and recheck on that. Because of our networks, we know a lot of weird people,
right?
All around the world, of every type of weirdness, from aristocracy to weird shamans to bondage masters to whatever. And so, we have access to these kind of people that recommended the right people to go to. So for me, it really was like kind of an exam that tested me on all the things that I'd ever learned about meditation and mantra and posture and all of this kind of stuff. And for me, it was the thing that really resolved the very heavy-duty breakup that I had with my ex-wife. It was the thing that really allowed me to let go of any anger and sadness and actually just step through that, which was an amazing process. And then, and also to be able to be fearless and to be in a state of really amazing flow for the last year and a half.
And before I get into you, Sasha, I think what's interesting, a lot of people I know who do like a heavy hallucinogenic like ayahuasca or iboga, which are very, very different. They don't carry it with them, and I think that's an important thing. What I hear from you, because we've talked about it too, is, and actually what I can see from you, and we'll get into it, but like that's like a point of change. It's a turning of the corner, but you've got to walk.
Yes.
And so I think that what adaptations have you made to your life since, having some of those breakthroughs?
It's been about moving through life with joy. That was the big message that came out of it, because for me, my core value was never happiness. That was never something that I was actually striving for. My core value was always mastery, which was simply to become a master of a function. I didn't really care whether or not I was happy, because to me that seemed like a kind of an earthly desire and a transitory thing, and it wasn't really relevant. But I think the really big thing that I came out of that was that joy in everyday living is vital, because yes, I am still on paths of mastery. That still is really important to me. But at the same time, every one of these moments that I have is really fucking precious. And as you get older, you start to get more understanding of your mortality. And so that was a big thing. And so going through, because my life has become much, much busier. I used to be a musician bum, and now I'm running a very complicated international business, and I'm responsible for the growth of hundreds of guys that come to me, and that's like a heavy responsibility. But the last year I've been twice as busy as I ever was, or 5 times busier, but it's had a much more joyful flow to it. I don't feel stressed out about it. I just go day by day, and I'm like, all right, here I am on this workshop, or here I am with this lover, or here I am, sitting on a mountain playing music, or whatever it is, and that's been really important.
Cool. And then Sasha,
I shat my pants.
Well, did you not shit your pants?
I didn't shit my pants.
Oh, okay.
And I did watch him do that. Yes, and I watched him curled up in a ball, puking on himself, shitting on himself all night, and then he got up and just howled in this inhuman scream for half an hour. The most terrifying thing I've ever seen or heard a human being do. And the next day I was like, what the fuck was that? He's like, what? When you were howling like a fucking banshee and thrashing yourself around and smashing your head on the ground. He's like, no, I wasn't doing that. It's like, yes, you were. He doesn't remember.
Yeah, I had a really tough trial for those. I felt some of the joy in a different one we did, but for the 4 ones we did over 10 days, I just went through absolute hell. There's no way to explain it other than being in absolute torment and suffering and just the brutality of it. And getting to a point where I was like, okay, death would be great. Like just being like, yep, bring death on, because that would just be awesome for this to end. And I think there are lessons in that, but different lessons. But so for me, it was really just really a real trial. But I learned later that it's actually a shamanic sort of initiation that you go through. Sometimes it's like an ego death, and it really is. There's a point to it, but it takes a long time to actually come to grips with it and sort of piece it together.
I think.
But I would warn everybody who wants to get into that stuff. Just
I would think that what's important, because I know a lot of people who've done it who haven't gone on to change. I mean, they will say it was the most amazing thing, and I killed my ego, and then their life goes back to normal, And so I think that what's interesting is that seeing in both of you guys and actually hearing you talk about it is that afterwards was like it set you on a path, and the real discipline was being on that path. And
because that's the same as when a guy comes into a boot camp. It's like. Yeah. Especially if it's a long-term boot camp or a very intense one or a lot of personal attention, in a way they just get grabbed by the collar and lifted up to heights because they have the support of the coaches and they're in that environment and they're out doing stuff because they're being kicked in the ass to do it, and suddenly they're meeting all these girls and doing all this amazing stuff, and maybe they suddenly get laid or all this incredible stuff happens.
And 2 weeks after the course, so have you been talking to chick?
Right,
Not really.
Life happens.
Why not? Well, yeah, okay.
So it's you come to a mentor for inspiration and for tutelage, and that will definitely help you cut many years off the trial and error path. But at the end of the day, when you step out from the master or from the tutor, then you have to just take those daily steps. And that's the same with these kind of spiritual experiences. You can go to a person who is resonating at an incredibly high spiritual level, and they can touch you on the forehead or give you a hug or something and give you a transmission where you suddenly just feel like, fuck yeah, it all makes sense, or whatever else it is. But really that's just a taste of them, of what they get to experience, and that won't stay with you. And so a lot of people just bounce around from guru to guru looking for that hit. Yeah, and that's why you'll see sometimes in these kind of conferences, guys come year after year after year, and you're like, well, that's not good that you're coming back year after year, unless it is because you're wanting to hit the next level.
I remember this was a funny moment, but I was at a convention and Eric Hypnotica said why the hell are you guys still here? This is the 4th time I've seen you. What are you moving? And man, but he put it in a really good way. But hey, that being said, what's happening for you guys? You guys are doing a movie. What's coming up in the future for you? What's happening there?
Yeah, we at some point because we're just having these crazy adventures that to us are becoming normal again. So
that are already kind of being documented.
We already go around, and then at some point we're like, well, this would be a great thing just to have fun and have a movie out there showing people the crazy shit we get up to, a little bit of promotion, but a little bit of crazy fun times. And so we did it. We just had my video guy he just followed us around for one of the courses, and yeah, we had some inspirational moments. We had some emotion, and I think it'll be really fun for people to watch and just actually get a real look into what we're really fucking doing.
So that's kind of cool. He's just following you around, kind of like
we did a whole workshop and with a bunch of guys who agreed to be on camera, and then we filmed
everything.
Absolutely everything that happens over a 10-day workshop.
That's a great style of filmmaking. Cinema verite. John Cassavetes. The most American, both of you guys not American, of filmmakers.
So that's coming out when?
I think it'll be ready in like early next year. I think
Awesome.
it'll be ready.
Wow.
Coming to a
Cool.
YouTube channel near you.
That's right. And maybe, just maybe, an actual movie cinema. Who knows?
Yeah.
Somewhere.
For me, next year is going to be my biggest coaching year ever.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be. And it's probably going to be the last big coaching year that
Yeah.
I do at that intensity. So I mean, both of us are pretty strict about how many guys we teach. We don't teach massive groups.
Sure.
Yeah, I never teach more than 2-on-1. So next year I'm teaching 65 guys, and that's all. But that's going to be over a bunch of very big and intense
That's actually a
workshops.
lot with your,
Yep.
you know, with the amount of guys you take on.
Right. So I'm going to be based in Europe, and I'm going to be running workshops. When I get back to Australia soon, I'm not doing nothing, so please don't contact me for the next 3 months. I just will ignore you. But from March next year, I'm going to be hitting the ground running hard and doing workshops all through Europe over summer, and then also coming back to the States in October and running a couple there. And also putting out my book as well for next year, which is something that's been sitting there like 90% done for the last 4 years. And I've been like running around the world going, I should get back to that, but right now I've got to go to Morocco.
I've been working on my book since 2008, goddammit.
Yeah.
But yeah, similar for me, really. Just, it'll be a busy year doing coaching, but I just want to move away from it. I've got my coaches in place, and I think I can help more people, because I learned from my videos that like I can help so many people buy videos that are free. So now it's like, well, now I can make some products and help more people and more in depth and make money at it. So why wouldn't I do that? So same thing, getting my book out, got a couple of products lined up, and yeah, just going to continue on my spiritual path and help as many people as I can, and that's it.
Cool, man. Awesome stuff. We're pretty much out of time. Yeah, I will say this. You too, as soon as we were saying that we were going to do podcasts and stuff like this, Sasha, James, Marshall, Sasha, James, Marshall, Sasha, James. So we got it, but we'll have to come back, most definitely, and do this sort of thing. All right. Thanks for watching, guys.
Peace.
Man, thank you guys so much for watching and being a part of this channel, this experience, and this dialogue that we are building with all of you. Please leave a comment. Please share us on social media, and of course, subscribe to us on the red button down below and get plugged into all the cool stuff that we're doing. I'm Steve Maeda, signing off. Thanks for watching.